All right. Um, I just got off a phone call. When people have a problem, I would rather have them voice it as adults than throw tantrums or berate people and only allow one person to be heard. That if you're in that situation, you're probably the one person that you want heard. You don't want to hear what the other guy has to say. You don't care about his opinion. You don't care about his situation. You don't care about what he's jumped through to try to make you happy. What you care about is your feelings, your emotions. Now, I'm very, very good at listening to people. There was a gentleman just called me up this morning. Now, there's he needed some help, right? So I come down here and got this feller to help him. And then there were 3 days where, he's like, all right, well, I really need your friend tomorrow. So I went and let my friend know. Of course, my friend is there going, all right, well, when are they going to call? I'm, you know, waiting on them to call to say, let's go do this. And, neither one of them are really being dickheads to me about it. It's not like it's hurting me any, and it's not. But the situation was there was one of these days where out of the 3 days where we called this guy up and asked him if he'd help, and he was gonna. And out of those 3 days, one of those days, this dude called him up, but of course they didn't have each other's numbers saved or any of that, and it just was not very good communication. That's what happens when I was trying to give them each other's number from the start, and they're thinking I'm going to be a go-between. Apparently, I mean, not that they chose for that to happen. It's just more convenient for them. But also, when there's a situation like that where it's more convenient for me, I basically just got to do it all myself. It's a pain in the ass. So, like the first 3 times this guy was bitching at me. It was over Sandy Fromm, and it's a situation that had nothing to do with me. That happened years ago between her and some other people that I wasn't even in Chapel, Nebraska at the time. So, sure, my fault or whatever. Anyway, so I was feeling bad. I mean, we asked this dude for his help on 3 different days. 3 different days, he was gonna. And the one day that he didn't make it, I mean, it's understandable why he didn't. It's not like he missed it because he's a bad person. And, he did get a phone call that day. But then, you look at his situation, you're like, well, yeah, you know, if you leave somebody hanging a few times and then you call them up last minute, yeah, the first 2 times we set it up so that he would, or sorry, 3 times that he said he would show up. Those don't count as, the day that he called because that was a fourth situation. Now, after we've let this guy know that, basically not calling him to let him know that we're not going to use him and having me be the go between, and then he says, oh, well, this is between, me and him because I'm the one that hired him. Fuck, why am I the go between here? You know, I'm friends with both of you. If there's a fucked up situation here, I'm gonna get fucking kicked in the teeth for it. So I'm trying my best to not make it be a fucked up situation. And this guy says, well, the day that I called him, he didn't show up. So, it makes me feel bad that you keep on bringing up about the fact that you've, called him up or had him on standby 3 times. That's not my fault, and it's really not your problem because you didn't hire him. Like, well, yeah, I kind of did. I'm kind of the guy that went down there for him the day that you asked. I'm the guy that asked him if he would. I'm the guy who you were sending rather than calling him. But now, he was able to get that off of his chest. And as well, he should be allowed to. If that's a point of contention for him, it is best that you get that off your chest, get it out of the fucking way, and be fucking adults about it. Like, yeah, while he was telling me this morning, well, this afternoon, because it was just a few minutes ago, like, yeah, I got a lot of fucking anxiety inside. And he's not trying to tell me I'm a bad person. What he's trying to do is get off of his chest the emotions that he's dealing with. It does make him feel bad when I say, hey, we called him 3 times or had him on standby 3 times and didn't have him work. Yeah, I feel bad for it. When he says I shouldn't feel bad for it, no, I actually should. I'm the one who went down and talked to him. I was the one who was the go-between. I was the one who was doing the organizing to try to get it done. Now, when this guy here has a change in schedule, I don't think it's all right for the guy up there to be angry about it, because the guy up there has had his schedule changed as well. He just doesn't want to be treated like he's a bad person for it. When I said, that's not the way that I was trying to put it across to you. I wasn't trying to say that you're a bad person because of it. What I was trying to get across to you is that I personally feel bad. I feel bad for asking him to help and then leaving him hanging. But also, the guy who called me up, he still wants this guy to come help him, and we're going to go help tonight. And of course, this is the day that we set up for it. We had set it up so that this guy, because he's got Wednesday off and he doesn't have to jump through a bunch of government hoops today, that today we were going to work on that. Well, it's going to end up being later on this evening, which I am fine with, and he's fine with. And he's fine with. So although all 3 of us have different schedules than what we had originally planned, we're still working on it. We're not being complete and total douchebags to each other. But the other thing is, what about my emotions? Like if I'm quiet, there's a reason for it. If I'm quiet, it's because I'm afraid to speak. I'm afraid that you're going to get butthurt. I understand that when I talk to people about things that they did wrong, or things that were just messed up, whether it's your fault or my fault, or in many of these situations, it's not a matter of fault. It's a matter of distance. Of course, all of the things that I had to deal with as far as the law goes, all of the things that the cops told me that they couldn't do anything about when they happened to me. Oh, damn. I'll tell you what, they sure as shit pounced when I did it back. This guy up there, he bitches about Sandy for about an hour every day. Sometimes more, sometimes a little less, but that's just an hour a day to me. I don't know who the hell else he's bitching about her to. But I try to speak up and say, hey, this isn't my problem. I'm listening to you for an hour a day about something that's not my problem. I'm not the one who's inviting Sandy Fromm over to my house. I'm not the one who's letting her in. So his complaints about her are very similar to a lot of the complaints that I have. But his complaints are valid, and when I have a complaint, like, yeah, I'm in his house. It's not like he comes over to my house to visit me. I don't have one. So when we meet, it's not on equal terms. He's got the dominant position. He's got the power position. When we hang out, if I want to have any sort of social interaction with somebody who's not negative all the fucking time, which that's difficult to do around here, he's like the one dude I can go to because he's not fucking depressed all the time. But he did kind of sort of listen, and usually he does listen better than he did today. And today I can understand he's in a fucking hurry. He just wanted to get it off his chest so he could go about his day and not have that pensiveness sitting on his fucking conscience, you know? Like, yeah, that really bugged me, and it bugs me that Shawn would think of me that way. And although it was his interpretation of it and not what it is that I was trying to say that ended up being the issue. And we were able to handle it like adults. The thing is that when I'm like that, I have to not be negative. I got to not say anything negative. I can't say nothing. If I have an issue with Sandy, I got to keep it to myself. You know, if I speak up, I hear I don't care. So a lot of times I go over there and I'm hoping that we're not going to talk about Sandy. And within 5 minutes of walking in the door, sometimes within 30 seconds, he's telling me about the pain in the ass that Sandy's been. I get that. I really do. I personally feel that although she bugs you more often, she is more of a nuisance to me. When I have an issue, it's not an issue where I'm just butthurt. With Miss Peaches, that's not a situation where I'm just butthurt because somebody spoke wrong or said the wrong thing. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, Shawn, I just want to keep my mouth shut because no matter what, you know, fucking I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to fix this. I don't know what to say to make you happy. I don't want to say the wrong thing." How about understand that I don't need you to give me advice? You need to, and I hate to say it this way, but if you're going to help me, the best thing to do is listen. Listen as if someone is telling you a story, because somebody is. In order for you to understand that story, you need to listen to the whole goddamn thing. Now, with when Natalie fucking disappeared, I'd already had a whole year worth of fucking story to tell. A whole year of fucking abuse that I had been trying to get help with. A whole year of being blown off by people who called me friend. Some very familiar names in my stories, like Miss Peaches. I went to her house for help repeatedly, but smoking weed and selling weed. This is what was important to her. And taking care of her kids, which I can agree with. She should take care of her kids. She is a great fucking mom, for the most part. I know a lot of y'all out there are going to be like, you know, she fucking sells drugs. She belongs in prison. Well, she sells weed. She sold a lot worse drugs when she was younger. Ken and Leah still sell fucking drugs, but you're not going to fucking go condemn them, are you? Actual drugs. I mean, they're selling fucking ecstasy. They're selling acid. They're selling what the fuck ever. Their drug of choice is what do you got? And if your drug of choice is what do you have to sell me, you'll probably get along fine. I actually started playing this for a reason. There was some questions that people were asking. Um, the situation with that guy up there, you know, he wants help with stuff. Um, and I tell him it'll take a certain amount of time. That's how long it'll take, given what I already have on my plate. If you're adding more to it, then it's not going to get done in a timely and efficient manner. The things that I told him, hey, I need a week to learn how to do this stuff, and I need to be left alone for that whole week. And he's come and got me needing help 4 different times. And yes, I'm going to help him. That's what I do. If I need help, how can I ask for somebody to help me if I'm not willing to help them? That's pretty screwed up. Do you agree? Disagree? Does it matter? So he's not a bad person for telling me how he feels, but just like with many of you, People like Miss Peaches, people like Mandy Hughes, and so many others. Most of them women. Women expect that you owe it to them to listen. That's how we teach women in the United States. It's not that women are naturally this way or men are naturally that way. It's that we teach them to be fucking different. You start teaching your girl at fucking 4 years old that boys are stupid. At 4 years old, you're teaching her this. Meanwhile, your husband is teaching your boys that girls are crazy. Now, are these statements true? Actually, they are. But they're not just true for one gender. And they're not true for every single person in that gender. When your daughter comes up to you and says, that boy hit me on the playground, and you say, oh, he only did that because he likes you. Who is teaching your kids that abuse is love? That's you. A lot of these people, when they didn't keep their word, they knew how it fucking affected me. Every fucking one of them. And that's why they all played fucking victim. And that is why they all played fucking stupid. The problem is, it's difficult for you to play stupid when I done recorded you telling the truth already. Oh, I never said that, but I fucking recorded it. And when you decided that you were going to be an asshole about something that I had said that you didn't fucking like and use that as your excuse, I did the same thing that you did. And you didn't fucking like it. Oh, I never said that. You're damn right I did say it. And I admitted to the rest of the world that I said it. But to that person, I gave that person equal treatment. If you don't want to be treated equally, then you probably shouldn't be shitty to me. And if you do something as incredibly fucked up as people have been doing to me, and then you want to gang up on me with your friends and your family and your other junky fucking buddies, we're gonna have an issue. I stuck up for you when you fucking needed it. Why the hell would your dumb ass come to the conclusion that I'm not gonna fucking defend myself? What the hell would make you think, after years of saving lives and getting between guns and knives and their intended targets, what the fuck would make you think that I am not going to defend myself? That I'm just going to lay down and take it? That I am just going to move from one place to another, to another, to another for the rest of my fucking life? Trying to find a safe fucking place while everything that I had that was worth living for is taken. Miss Peaches, aka Kayla Trujillo, did a lot of fucked up shit. She, at the very beginning, was pissed off about many of the things I was pissed off about. But unlike me, she wasn't saying a goddamn thing anywhere that it fucking mattered. She showed up to one of my fucking court dates. One. And I was glad for that court date. I paid for the gas so she could go to that court date. I paid for food so she could go to that fucking court date. The way that they treated her in that court date, taking her picture and putting it all over the fucking newspapers and shit. Like, yeah, do you know who she fucking came down on for that? Daily Camera takes the fucking picture and she treats me like shit. She bitches at me on multiple occasions over this. When she does something fucked up, and I'm like, hey, you did something fucked up, and this is how it's affecting me. Well, I'm the one who had my picture taken and put in the daily camera. Holy fuck! So because the daily camera did something wrong, and those judges sold your rights and your safety as a human being to the daily goddamn camera, that means it's okay to treat me like shit? That makes it okay to fucking lie to me repeatedly? That makes it okay? Does it really? Now, when it comes to players, and that's literally how we teach women to be, we teach all females in the United States to be players starting at age 4. It is time to start playing. Game on. Go destroy some men's lives. And while you're at it, have fun destroying your own lives with that goddamn drama. Am I the one teaching girls to be like this? Hell no. I'd rather teach them the reality of the situation. You do fucked up shit that gets other people hurt. Yeah, there are gonna be fucking consequences. You don't get to assault me and then just pretend it never happened. You don't get to assault me, have the assumption that I'm just gonna keep it to myself and be okay and be correct. Because that's not a correct fucking assessment. I've stuck up for the other underdogs because I am them. Those are my people. The people you don't give a fuck about. Despite the fact that Miss Peaches spent a whole bunch of time selling fucking drugs and selling weed, she is still somebody I love, still somebody I care about. But I am well within my rights to be pissed off at her. I am well within my rights to be pissed off at all of these people who knew that I was being fucking abused, knew that I had gone to them repeatedly for help, knew that I continue to be harmed to this day, but it's not their problem and it's not their fault, right? No, it absolutely is their problem. It absolutely is their fault. If someone's being assaulted and they come to you for help, and you make nothing but excuses for literally years, you're not a good fucking person. You're a piece of shit. You are fucking lip service. And all these people, they're allowed to be pissed off. They're allowed to basically shove a bunch of shit that's not my fault in my face. When they get butthurt because something that I said, they're going to grossly misinterpret. I'm going to have an issue with that. Yes, absolutely. If you're going to tell me that I just have to take the abuse from Sandy Fromm, and when I have an issue with Sandy Fromm, you will listen to her for hours. I'm not allowed to say anything because you tell me you don't care. If you don't fucking care, do me a favor and don't talk about Sandy Fromm for an hour a fucking day. I got issues with the woman too. And I have nobody that I can vent to because you don't fucking care. Well, guess what? I don't want to fucking hear it every goddamn day either. It's not equality. When I listen to you bitch about Sandy Fromm for an hour and a fucking half, and at the end of that hour and a half, I'm like, hey, dude, that is not the situation. You're allowed to have problems with Sandy. You're allowed to bitch at me for hours every fucking day. But if I say anything at all, you say, I don't care. And I recorded a bunch of this shit for a reason. To show that I'm telling the fucking truth. Now, is this guy gonna sit down and listen to the conversations that I recorded between me and Sandy? No. He doesn't care. But in reality, he actually does care. He cares enough to continually say something about it. He cares enough to bitch about her for hours and hours and hours. He cares enough to carry it on to the next day and the next day and the next. He cares enough that he threatens that he's not going to allow her back in his house repeatedly. And then the next time I go over there, he's telling me another story about how Sandy won't fucking leave him alone. Another story about how she won't leave him alone about me. And all these people, when it's not convenient for them, it's all my fault. It's a situation that is not my fault, is not my choice, and I don't want anything to do with. But I gotta listen to you bitching at me every fucking day about it. Yeah, I do have a problem with that. You're allowed to speak and I'm not. You're allowed to have emotions and I'm not. You want me to do all these different things for you, but the help that I need, you can't do. It's not that you literally can't. You just don't care enough to do so. People don't want to understand that when you are called mentally ill, you don't have rights. And each one of these people who's fucking bitching at me about shit that's not my fault, they're showing at that point in time that they know that I don't have any rights. And that makes it complicated for me. Like, you're allowed to have problems with somebody. You're allowed to fucking bitch at me for hours on end. You're allowed to change your schedule. You're allowed to have problems, but if I have any problems, I'm a bad person for it. Lana has degenerative disc disease. She has her daughter there as an aide to help her. Her and her daughter basically just smoke pot all fucking day. Smoking pot and watching TV. Amanda sits down and watches Game of Thrones, and Lana pulls out her phone and starts listening to this earthquake dude she calls Dutch. Yay! When it came to the situation with Sandy, it was a situation had nothing to do with me. It was between her, Toby Smith, and Chris Stegman 7 years ago. Nothing to do with me. But then when it all hit the fan, I got Chris Stegman being a douchebag to me over it. I got Floyd Stegman treating me like shit over it. He's not literally treating me like shit. He's seeing it in a very, very colored light. Like when his son is drunk and up until 3 a.m. because he's fucking drunk. His dad tells me, you kept him up until 4 o'clock in the morning. Really? I kept him up. You tell me about being an adult, and then you are putting on fucking kids' gloves for your 41-year-old son. It's not my fault. Your son makes his own decisions, and he is an adult. But I had 4 people all coming down on me over this situation with Sandy that had nothing to do with me. And guess what? I have not all 4 of them. I have 3 of those 4 people recorded admitting that it was not my fault, had nothing to do with me. And those people who admitted it still bring that shit up. They say, don't live in the past, and then are constantly bringing up the past. And I'm not allowed to be frustrated. You are changing the rules based on what you want at that point in time. See, here's the most important thing about training dogs, training cats, training horses, and training human beings. It's called consistency. If you want your dog to read your mind, and when your dog doesn't read your mind, you beat the fuck out of it, we're gonna have an issue. My little sister, she had an issue where she was beating the fuck out of her dog. She didn't understand how important consistency was. And she wanted to pretend like it was a direct challenge when I told her, hey, your dog doesn't understand that. You need to stop hitting it. But guess what? My little sister is now excellent with dogs. She is consistent with her training. A dog gets confused when you are constantly changing the fucking rules. And it is the same with a human being, whether they are 4 years old, 40 years old, or even older than that. If you're going to continually change the rules, how the fuck are we going to work together? When you change the agreement every time that it's inconvenient for you, and it might just be inconvenient for you emotionally because you got stuff on your mind about the shit that you want to do. That dude who I'm basically bitching about right now, it's not that he's never done anything for me. It's not that I've never done anything for him. I'm the one who is the most consistently over there. I'm also the only person that he has ever called, to my knowledge, to come hang out with him. He calls me and says, hey, why don't you come hang out? Calls me about every day. When he complains about needing space, I give him space. And then he gets lonely. And lonely is in, he wants a boyfriend or something like that. It's not some fucking creeper shit. It's just, he's in there. He's got nobody to talk to, and he's got fucking just the TV to keep him entertained. There's a reason I don't own a TV. But yeah, when he's frustrated, just like many of you, you don't take it out on the person who did it. You take it out on whoever is the easiest to take it out on. A lot of times that's whoever just happens to be present. I don't know how many times that I have been over at a friend's house and the woman in the relationship is having a stressful issue, whether it be money or whatever else. And it's not anything that's the guy's fault. But she starts talking about it. She gets herself worked up. And next thing we know, he's some sort of a terrible person because he's the easiest one to take it out on. They got kids together, This is his house as much as hers. They have two grown adults working together to make ends meet and still can barely make it. Is he going to leave his wife over the fact that she keeps on doing that? Probably not. Is that something that he should leave his wife over? Well, I guess that all depends on your opinion. I noticed that in relationships, though. I've never had a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, but I've observed plenty. You know what destroys those relationships? A lack of trust. It's difficult for someone to trust you when every time something fucked up happens, they're the ones that take the fucking brunt of it. It's hard for people to trust you. Also, if you don't trust them because you're paranoid, you do treat them differently. And when you treat them differently, yes, they do notice. It does hurt them emotionally, even if they have a penis. This guy here telling me what he did today, needing to get that off of his chest. I gave him more respect than he's given me over the situation, because at least I listened to him instead of saying, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. And if I did say, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, he would take it personal. But I'm not allowed to take it personal, and I'm the one taking the abuse. Now, it may not be abuse at his hands. It doesn't have to be. If you know that someone is being abused and you do nothing, you are just as guilty of committing the crime. When that woman at Sally Treon's house dragged that little girl through the house and kicked her in the face, I got a hold of Miss Jerry to let her know what had happened. I know what happens if I go to the police. I'm a male. I'm broke. I have to go in by myself. I don't have any goddamn illusions about what's going to happen in that fucking scenario. That situation where I had to go talk to Amanda Jonas and the Secret Service, there were at least 8 different fucking law enforcement officers in there from at least 4 different agencies. The only reason that I felt safe enough to go to that fucking meeting is because Miss Peaches was going to go in with me. But did she go in with me? No, she didn't. She dropped me off there and left. And her excuse was that she had her son with her. She said, you know, I wouldn't have been afraid to go talk to him, but I had my son with me. She didn't even remember which son she had with her. Miss Peaches never kept her word. She never kept her word to come forward. She never kept her word to write a police report. And she never kept her word to go in with me to make a report. After that first court date, it was basically me getting treated like shit, me getting talked over, me being told how to think and how to feel, and me being told how to spend resources that I don't fucking have. Jenny Bell Black typed, hi, Shawn. Now I'm gonna go to this right here, the notifications. Star Mesia commented, hey, Mr. Shawn, I lost faith and hope in everyone and everything for a long time. You have had so many problems, one ton after another. You don't seem to have given up at all. No, my life ended in October of 2016. There are certain things that if you say them, you do destroy a man's life. You destroy his opportunities. You destroy his relationships and friendships. All because you didn't want to tell the truth. All because you wanted to play on your gender for sympathy. It's hard to give up when you're already dead. It's hard. It really is. All these people who made minimal or no effort, too cowardly to tell the truth, playing like I'm the bad guy. And I'm not allowed to get pissed off. I'm not allowed to be angry. People are allowed to be angry at me over crimes I didn't commit. People are allowed to physically harm me over crimes that I didn't commit. People are allowed to steal from me over crimes that I didn't commit. So literally, people can commit crimes against me whenever they want, and there's not a goddamn thing I can do about it. A lot of people, they're speaking up, Sort of, but you need to not generalize. There are individual cases that need picked up. Instead of bitching about the fact that it's not fair, get off your ass and make it fair. Join this fucking fight. While your 50-year-old neighbor who hasn't gotten out of fucking junior high school in her head, and her 2 kids and her 8 grandkids are all coming down on you and bringing their drama on you, yeah, that's a completely different story than what you want to sell. It's a completely different story than the advice you want to give. The advice that you're giving is for a situation that I'm not in. It would be lovely if I was in that wonderful of a situation. And yes, I understand that the situation that you think that you're trying to help me with is already a bleak and dark situation. What I'm telling you is that it's even more bleak and more dark than that. Many of the options that you guys have, the things that you suggest, show me where you are at in life. A lot of you, the suggestions that you have show me that you are out of high school now, but that you still live with your parents. A lot of you, the things that you suggest, show me that you have an abundance of money. A lot of you, the suggestions that you make show me that you have family and a roof over your head. All from the advice that you want to shove at me. And a lot of people, they didn't mean for their advice to be something that was going to set me off. And in most of those cases, the advice itself is not what set me off. What set me off is that, yes, I have to talk to you like this for you to understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. When I go in and I talk to the police like this, I tell them what's going on. I try to tell them calmly what the situation is, and they blow me off, and they blow me off. I'm being assaulted because these officers don't want to do a goddamn thing. What are we paying them for? But then when something happens to these people, I'm the one that gets blamed. Natalie gets raped by Tim Beeson and Ted Bollinger, and I'm the one being treated like a rapist. Natalie can't stay off the fucking drugs, and neither can her sister, and I'm the one treated like a druggie. They're the ones spreading rumors and slander that people are physically harming me over. But it's okay, they're girls, they get to play the victim. Girls are allowed to be strung out on drugs. If they're strung out on drugs, it's a man's fault. If a man is strung out on drugs, it's a man's fault. Anyway, Jeannie Bell Black commented, very interesting. I hope you're having a good day today and eating and warm enough. I hate spiders except the one I had as a roommate while I was healing from my surgery. Yes, ma'am. I like spiders. I just don't like brown recluses crawling on me. And that one, I remember the video just a couple days ago, maybe just yesterday. Yeah, the thing fucking crawled into my computer. She also asked me, let's see, Jeannie Bell Black commented, how do you know so much about guns? I wish people would see you for your intelligence instead of the hate red they give you. You surely would be an asset to any company as a probably says problem solver. Let's see. As a problem solver or even military intelligence. Yeah, I tried to get into the military, actually. They didn't want me. And that's actually a good thing. When I realized how the homeless are treated and that 1 in 10 homeless people is a veteran, it kind of puts it in perspective for you. When you're walking down the Pearl Street Mall with a guy who has literally a wooden leg because his titanium broke, and he's homeless too. Kind of puts things in perspective. We don't take care of our soldiers, do we? Of course, then again, are they our soldiers? Are they? Now, the first question she asked was, oh, an hour ago she typed, Motorhead has a movie called Eat the Rich. It's funny as fuck. Very cool. Anyway, to get back to her questions, how do you know so much about guns? Um, I really don't, if that makes sense, but I understand mechanics. I'm really good at looking something and figuring out how it works. Now, there's some stuff that, like carburetor, for example, if you don't understand all the internal workings, which you can't see from the outside, it gets pretty complicated. But a gun, you can tear it apart and look at the insides of it, all of it, you know? And then there's stuff on YouTube, and then there's, the fact that right now I'm in Nebraska. I mean, shit, everybody in Nebraska owns a fucking gun. Most of them don't know how to fix their gun. It's not my fault they don't know how to fix their guns. And it does, to some degree, help me out that they don't know how to fix their guns, because when they need their gun fixed, because it's hunting season, then yeah, it's money in my pocket. You don't know how to fix your firearm, that's not my fault. You knew that it was broke at the end of hunting season last year because your dumb ass got super excited about getting your fucking dove, and then you threw your Mossberg down in the fucking mud, and then you left that shit in your goddamn gun for an entire year. Yeah, that mud is dried out. It's hard as a fucking rock. There's a reason that your spring is not fucking moving. There is a reason that the trigger is not fucking moving. It's because you were a dumbass and didn't do something about it last year. Now you got a busted firing pin because you got a fucking rock in there. And then you have a spring in your trigger grouping that is fucking rusted through. All right, it's not just rusted and shrank. It rusted through till it broke. No, that son of a bitch isn't going to work. Yes, I can fix it for you temporarily. You're welcome for sticking the wrong spring in your fucking Mossberg. You should have taken care of that last year, ordered the goddamn spring that should go into your gun last year, and fucking fixed it yourself last year. But people are stupid. How are you going to know that you can't tear your Mossberg down if you've never tried? If you can't tear your rifle down or your shotgun at least decently enough to be able to fucking clean the son of a bitch, there's going to be some issues. Now, there's a lot of people who think that their shotguns are intimidating. Like Rihanna Ingersoll's ex-husband. Rihanna Ingersoll, she's the alcoholic who was supposed to be helping me out, who died this year. Still not fucking happy about that. But her husband is a dick. He was allowed to have friends. He was allowed to go see his friends. He was being a controlling asshole. Rihanna wasn't allowed to have friends. She had a grand total of 2 friends, me and Amy Spencer. And Amy Spencer kept kicking her in the dick. And every time Rihanna would go back. Yeah, I love Amy, but she's an evil bitch. I'm like, well, Rihanna, you're the one who agreed to take care of her kids. You took on more than you could handle. You knew that you couldn't take care of your own kids. And you let Amy convince you that you should take her kids and take care of them until Amy gets done taking care of her meth issues and her jail time. But that's not what ended up happening. See, according to Rihanna, Amy was going to leave. She was going to leave Josh because he kept on hitting her and the kids. Amy verified that just a few months ago. Yes, I recorded that conversation and put it on YouTube too. I know a lot about guns because I like the way things work. I know a lot about the H1G Cobra too. That's a helicopter from Vietnam. I know quite a bit about rocket-propelled grenade launchers. I can make my own rockets. I can make my own with sugar and potassium nitrate. I can make my own rockets that'll go hundreds of feet up in the air. I'm not an idiot. A lot of this stuff I learned, especially when I got into swords to plowshares. That's where I was trying to figure out civilian uses for this military stuff. Civilian uses to help people instead of kill them. But then again, you're talking about stuff that is designed specifically for killing people. It is too purpose built to be changed effectively. Like let's talk about the H1G Cobra, for example. They use this for fire watch. That means they fly around with an infrared camera on it and look for hot spots where there might be some burning embers, but you can't see a fire anymore because the fire is pretty well out. But those burning embers can easily start that fire up again. So you got the troops on the ground, and just like in a wartime scenario, that helicopter is to support the troops on the ground and also to help guide them to get where they need to go. If you find a hot spot in your H1G and you can see those troops on the ground, you see those firemen, you can tell them where to go. You can tell them, hey, about 60 yards up and 60 yards to the right, you're going to run into a big hot spot. It's right next to three really big boulders, and there's a half burnt tree right next to it. Well, you look for those landmarks. You go that general direction. That helicopter is in the air, being your eyes in the sky, letting you know where you need to be. But then you look at the fact that the OH-6 Little Bird, or OH-6 Cayuse, or there's about 8 or 9 different names for it. Now it's the AH series or the MD-500 series, but it's all the same basic helicopter. It's a LOH, light observation helicopter. That helicopter would be better suited for that job. That helicopter was designed as a piece of military hardware, but it was made to be super light and super fast and have a lot of fucking lift. That right there that's a multi-use craft. You can use that for getting casualties out of a battle zone. You can use that for getting somebody in an emergency off the side of a mountain who is suffering from 2nd and 3rd degree burns. I mean, it's a hell of a helicopter. But when you look at the AH-1G, that one's designed specifically for killing. Its whole role is to kill. There's not a lot you can do with that. It's really heavier than what they're using it for. The reason that they are using it is because it's military surplus and it looks cool, you know? But between that helicopter and the OH-6, the OH-6 Cayuse is a much more effective helicopter. Now, if they were to put some of that spray foam or shit like that on the AH-1G and put that in the nose turret, and instead of just the infrared cameras and shit, then you've got a way to actually fight that fire. And the AH-1G Cobra does have the power to lift that. But it's not utilized. It's not on there. You're basically just going, all right, well, I can either drive on the golf course in a cheap ass fucking rental golf cart, or I can drive around on the golf course in my Mercedes Benz. It's pretty much fucking overkill. That'd be like using an army tank as a road grader. You don't need 60 tons of fucking weight to be a road grader. And you go back to some of the small tanks. I mean, you go back to the L333, you're talking about a tank that's less than 4 tons. You start talking about the Panzer One, again, you're talking between a 4 and 6 ton vehicle at most. Of course, by the end of the war, you got huge fucking vehicles, don't you? Our tanks today are actually bigger with thicker armor and are still lighter weight than the tanks back then. I know so much about guns because I like the way things work. I like to be able to fix stuff myself because most of the places that I've lived or been, I don't have the money to pay a mechanic. I got to learn it myself. When I moved here years ago, people knew me as an artist, but they didn't know me as an artist when I very first moved here because I wasn't an artist yet. I mean, I got to the point eventually where I could draw a picture that's photorealistic, but it's going to take me almost 1,000 hours to do it. No, I'm not going to invest 1,000 hours into drawing a picture for you that you're going to spend fucking 8 months not paying me for. Especially when you're probably not going to pay me that much to begin with. I told you what happens when they call you mentally ill. I told you about all these programs that they swear are out there that are supposed to help people like me in this situation. There are these places that are supposed to help vulnerable adults. They're all getting money for doing this job, but none of them are actually doing it. You go back through my recordings and you realize real quick, fast, and in a fucking hurry that these places that you think are supposed to help me with this shit, I've called, and you can hear from the people at the other end of the fucking phone call admitting that the things that you think they're supposed to do, they're not. It's not their job. You get to hear those people tell me that it's not their job. And then, of course, there's the evidence that shows that before and after telling me these things, that they couldn't do these things, they had already done these things that they supposedly couldn't do for my predators. They had done these things for my predators. These things they're not allowed to do. These things that are not their job. If you're an adult who's being abused, you're supposed to call Adult Protective Services. Now, how many times in our recordings has Tara Smith said that's not her job? According to her, her job is the same job that Jen Beebe at Region 1 has. But then again, Jen Beebe at Region 1 didn't do her job. I had to have an autism advocate help me with that because Jen Beebe ignored me for 5 months. The thing is that Jen Beebe knew what she was doing was wrong. The very same as Nicole Peralta knew what she was doing was wrong. Just like Jeffrey Ritter knew that what he was doing is wrong. Just like the sheriff in this town, Scott DaCosta, knew what he was doing was wrong. Just as his deputies knew what they were doing is wrong. Just as those people in Clearview knew what they were doing is wrong. Just as Officer Waylon Lolatai knew what he was doing is wrong. But these people got off on it. Waylon Lolatai probably spooged his shorts 4 times while he was assaulting me. I have permanent damage in my wrist from that fucking pig. My back was already fucked up, and it's fucked up worse because of that pig. My ankle, my knee, and my hip are fucked up worse because of that pig. But it's okay that that pig assaulted me because of slander that I was never allowed to defend myself against. It's wrong for him to assault others, but it's okay that he does it to me, isn't it? Of course it is. Of fucking course it is. So this guy here, after as good as he's been to me, he gets a hold of me today. He wants $6 and something cents so he can go buy himself a pack of cigarettes. Shit, this dude's the least of my problems. He's not costing me time. He's not costing me money. He is saving me money. I mean, this little shack here. Yes, I'm renting it. Yes, I gave him actual money. But I got what I needed out of it. I have a place to work on my project. A place with electricity and internet. And I pay him $25 a month to rent this 5 foot by 5 foot space. I give him $25 a month for that. And another $25 a month for the electricity. And guess what? That's $50 a month. I gave him $300. How long does that pay me up for? It pays me up for 6 months. But this guy, I mean, the whole time I was staying here, he wasn't asking me for money. He wasn't asking me for a bunch of unreasonable shit. And the few times that he did ask for unreasonable shit, the only thing that made it unreasonable is that he was asking for help that he wasn't going to provide for me. But that all depends on how you look at it. He didn't do it to be mean or malicious. He gets depressed too. When he gets depressed, yeah, he fucking can barely deal with his own shit, let alone deal with mine. Does that make him a bad person? No. He's also not an idiot. The first time I had a fucking panic attack at his house, he took the bolt and the gun and put them in separate places. He took the ammunition out and put it in a third place, not on the premises. No, I'm not going to fucking shoot myself at this dude's house. And I told him that. I'm not going to shoot myself here. But I do understand his paranoia. Now, there's the fact that I'm not supposed to be around firearms. But everywhere that I've been, or nearly everywhere that I've been since Natalie died, people have firearms. I mean, shit, Candace was talking all big, like big Billy badass. Somebody comes through this door, I'm gonna protect my children. I'll put a 45 right between their eyes. Blah blah blah. You know, she's thinking fucking like Ted Bollinger. Yeah, he's not gonna fucking show up. So she knows that she can just talk that shit, and she doesn't have to back it up. I told her the cops are the ones she needs to worry about. She thought I was fucking kidding. Like, no, Candace, I need help. The cops aren't going to listen to me. The cops did fucked up shit. And the cops who did that fucked up shit can abuse their power and their position to make me a target anywhere that I fucking go. Yes, Candace, you do need to be afraid, but no. I don't think that you're going to shoot Officer Michael Beard between his eyes with your 45. And then people are like, oh, well, Shawn, you shouldn't have posted up on the internet. Well, I tried talking to you first. You didn't want to hear it. You wanted to, when you said that you would help me, and then I call, And instead of you helping me, you apparently need a fucking therapist. And I am there listening to you be a fucking therapist. A lot of people, there's shit that they complain to me about that I can't do anything about because I can't go to Colorado. I cannot safely go to Colorado without being abused by police, without being abused by the public. If you need my help in Colorado, you're just not going to get it. When you didn't keep your word and made it so that I had to leave for my own safety, and in some cases, even for yours. The guy who owns the house, his ex was so bad that on multiple occasions I was going to call the police. On multiple occasions he wanted to. And you know why he didn't? Because he's not a fucking idiot. He knows if he calls it in, he's the one who's likely to get fucking locked up. He's the one who is the male in the scenario. He is the one who is most likely to have to deal with the consequences. His ex is drunk in the vehicle with 5 kids. He's not there. He's in his own place. They're separated. He's not with her for a reason. And she says, well, it's not just me. He did a bunch of messed up stuff too. And I'm like, I'm not here to judge what's happening in the past. Whatever happened between you two before this, you're separated now. Get over it. Like for the whole last year, it was she needed help with the kids so that she could go do stuff. Then she would show up with the kids. She's drunk when she fucking shows up. And then she doesn't go do the things that she claimed that she needed to do. Instead, she's busy bitching at him for hours. He's trying to interact with his kids while listening to her fucking nagging at him non-fucking stop. And all the situations where there was problems here, all of the situations where there was problems between her and him, every single one of those situations was her fault. She lied. She misled the situation. He wants to see his kids. He just doesn't want to have to deal with her being a fucking stalker. He wants to spend time with his kids. He doesn't want to listen to an alcoholic bitch at him for hours at a time. He's trying to spend time with his kids. That goddamn restricted number again. Yay! So, although she's the one that did wrong shit, she is the one who repeatedly made his life hell because she was rejected. He does not want to be with her anymore. So this is how she retaliates. She tries to pity party him into coming back. A lot of y'all pretended that I was like that with Natalie. Me and Natalie never fucking dated. Is that a difficult concept to understand? Now, if you guys want to pretend that anytime that a man calls you a name, it's because you didn't have sex with him, nobody on the fucking planet is that stupid. There is no woman in the United States stupid enough to believe that bullshit. But us girls gotta stick together. So you're gonna go right along with that bullshit, with destroying an innocent man's life, knowing that he's innocent, Because you girls got to stick together. Sorry, that's sexism, bud. That is sexism. Well, poor restricted number still isn't getting through to me. Oh, I'm sorry, restricted number. Does your vagina hurt? You must be the one person watching. These restricted numbers tend to come up more often. These people want to harass me and distract me and be assholes when I'm making videos. Well, I'm sorry, little bitch, but you're a little bitch and I'm still going to make the video. Yeah, truth. You don't believe me? Go back. Look, there's more videos. After all the threats, harassment, and assault that I've dealt with, and you think I'm just going to shut up because you're embarrassed? I should shut up about something that I am being harmed over because you're embarrassed? You're embarrassed to admit that you fucked up, so I have to take abuse? Fuck you. You are out of your goddamn mind. Morning, cunt rag. Meanwhile, what are the fucking cops going to do about it? They have done nothing in the last 4 goddamn years. They have done everything that they can to abuse their power so that they don't have to do their jobs. They did such fucked up shit in order to not actually do the job they're paid for before Natalie died that they have done more work to try to cover up their crimes than they would have had to do just to investigate the goddamn crimes committed against me to begin with. So we got restricted snatch rag here who keeps calling. You know, I called Tim Beeson a cunt too. Does that mean that Tim Beeson rejected me? And that I only called him a cunt because I couldn't get laid? Huh? You gonna say that me calling my brother, Eric Christopher Schwartz, aka Rabbit, a cunt? Are you gonna pretend that's because Rabbit rejected me for sex? See, that's the thing y'all want to make excuses for. Oh, well, Shawn is infatuated with Natalie. Shawn is in love with Natalie. Shawn can't handle rejection. Shawn just wanted sex. Maybe you should ask out some of the or ask some of the women I have asked out how I deal with rejection. When I asked Jessica Martindale out, she said no. I didn't throw a fucking tantrum. I didn't call her a cunt. I didn't run around town spreading rumors. And I did have several people ask me about it. One of them, his name's Kyle Straska. He's Jessica's ex-boyfriend from high school. He come up to me one day. He's like, "You asked Jessica out?" "Yeah." He said, "What would make you think she'd say yes?" That's Kyle. That's his sense of humor. He doesn't mean anything offensive by it. He's just trying to be funny. I like Kyle. I like his brother. I like his mom. His mom has a different sense of humor than the boys do, though. See, a lot of y'all, you talk about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. These young men, they don't necessarily know what's appropriate. Some of the stuff that they said that they thought was funny and just in good fun, If they'd have said that to any of the kids I went to school with in Washington State, they'd have gotten their asses beat. But here in Nebraska, you know, especially out on a farm, sometimes families are a little bit more liberal with that sort of thing. Like in my mom's house, the word bitch was thrown around like it was candy on Halloween. One of the things that my mom was real proud of after she had fucked somebody over, like my stepdad, she'd say, "I'm a bitch and I'm proud of it." Yay, that's my mom. This is a woman who had sex with, you remember that child molester, Andrew Witcher I was telling you about? Well, my mom was cheating on her husband and having sex with this ginormous blimp of a man named Jeff Witcher while married to Scott, because my mom doesn't have the loyalty that God gave a fucking sewer rat. But when Scott was playing a video game that she also plays, and his character on that video game got married to another character in the video game, she threw a tantrum because Scott was cheating on her. She kicked him out and she took a fucking baseball bat to his fucking Toyota, or to his, it wasn't a Toyota, it was I want to say it was a white Ford pickup. She went out and smashed up his fucking windows, kicked him out of the house. He was living with Janet Roberts. Then, of course, my mom, she realizes, oh, fuck, Scott does all the fucking work around here. I'm going to lose my house without Scott. I better pretend that I have a migraine and have Scott take me to the hospital. He's the only person who can take me. Scott didn't want to take my mom to the hospital. Janet Roberts was repeatedly offering, oh, Angela, I can take you. I can take you. I can take you. Angela, I can take you to the hospital. She's like, no, only Scott knows what to say. Only Scott knows what to say. Only Scott knows what to say. Of course, that ended up being a pretty fucked up situation, too, because Scott went back to her. Now, my mom has repeatedly had Jeff and Scott in the same house. She still has sex with Jeff, still has sex with Scott. She's still playing both dudes. Of course, my mother herself is a sexual predator. She had sex with multiple kids that I went to school with. Now, Chris Stegeman, he wants to tell me about how he's always honest. He's always honest. He doesn't understand the point of being dishonest. But he was there one day at the bar, and maybe he was just feeling his oats or feeling his alcohol, but he wanted to tell me about having sex with my mom. He said, how do you feel about it? Really, dude? You're not the first person to tell me you had sex with my mom. You're not. You're probably the only kid I went to school with who's older than me who told me they had sex with my mom. But you're not the only person to tell me that. I mean, before anybody that I went to school with ever bothered to tell me they had sex with my mom, I already had people in fucking this town telling me, hey, your mom was a lot of fun in high school. Man, if you knew how many times I saw your mom naked. That's the uncouth bullshit I got to deal with in this town. People say, oh, well, you know, people with autism, they don't know what's socially appropriate and what's not. Actually, most of us do. But the rules are different from us, and you don't want to observe the fact that you have different rules for us than you have for yourself. You have different rules for that kid with Down syndrome than you have for the jock that you're throwing your vagina out of a fucking cannon at. If that guy with cerebral palsy asks you out, you're going to let him down nicely, sure. He's never going to hit you. But that dude who's fucking fucked up on roids, who's wanting to fucking play football professionally for Tom Osborne, and yes, I know Tom Osborne is no longer a fucking football coach, but that's the point of the matter. All of us dorks and nerds and spazzes and weirdos and whatever fucking labels you want to give us for not being good looking fucking Brad Pitt types or Tyson Beckford. We're the ones who take the punishment. You say, you know, you're not the one who's being assaulted by this guy. So if I want to go back to him, that's my choice. How do you know I'm not being assaulted by the guy? How do you know that him and his friends aren't making my life a living hell? Oh yeah, you don't fucking care. You just want the dick. And that's fucking nuttier than squirrel turds. All of these people projecting their sexual bullshit onto me. Like Ted Bollinger rapes his daughters, sells at least one of them to pay his debts, has them selling hardcore drugs on Pearl Street for them, drugs that he got them strung out on. And then he has the audacity to throw a goddamn tantrum in the fucking courtroom, calling me a child molester. You go back and you look through Natalie's words. Not once did she ever say that I molested or raped her. You go back through that information on her fucking YouTube, you realize that if you scroll all the way back to the beginning when she was alive and she was typing on there, she said we never had a sexual relationship. You see how her calling me a stalker results in 20 to 30 people that she is friends with saying, oh, well, he must be a fucking rapist. He must be a child molester. It must be about sex. No, it's about being fucking assaulted. I wasn't getting a hold of her saying, hey, if you don't come here and suck my dick, I'm going to kill your whole family. And that's what she was trying to pretend. But you look through everything. There is not one fucking piece of evidence, not even one, to even suggest that we had a sexual relationship. You look through our conversations with each other. Am I constantly telling her about her looks? Am I constantly telling her all of the bullshit that men tell you when you're drunk when they want to have sex? Was I telling her that shit? Was I telling her, oh, I'm in love with you? No, she typed that shit to me. And I fucking sidestepped it. I didn't want to date her. I wanted her to not fucking die. After I left Virginia, I should have been left the fuck alone. Not gang stalked and ignored because you can apparently gang stalk somebody as long as you call them mentally ill. It is okay for you to assault somebody as long as you call them mentally ill. It is all right for you to steal their things as long as you call them mentally ill. It is all right for you to take all of their money under false pretenses as long as you call them mentally ill. I gotta say, if every person that I called a dirty or nasty name over this bullshit, if every one of them wanted to pretend that it was because I wouldn't have sex with them, you would have a lot of guys speaking up saying, hey, Shawn rejected me, or I rejected Shawn and he's throwing a tantrum at me and called me a cunt because I wouldn't have sex with him. But how many men are doing that? That's not what men are taught. Men are taught that even if they are actually abused, they can't say nothing. Whereas a woman is taught that if she does something wrong, she can use that as a tool to cover up her crimes. She can use that as a tool to have her victims victimized by others. People wanted to be condescending. Oh, Sean, you're afraid of a little girl. No, I'm sick of all the goddamn bullshit. It wasn't just Natalie. It wasn't just her sister. It wasn't just Maddie Boa. It wasn't just Tim motherfucking Beeson. And after Natalie was killed, see, here's the thing. Before Natalie was killed, cops did everything in their power not to actually do their fucking jobs. And after Natalie was killed, they've done everything in their fucking power to cover up and justify the fact that they didn't do their jobs, including repeatedly assaulting me and repeatedly sending me to nuthatches for trying to turn in my predators, who are police officers. One of the ladies I was talking to, she says, oh, well, I thought you and Scott DeCosta were working together now and everything was working out and everything was fine and dandy. No, nothing is fine and fucking dandy until that son of a bitch is sitting in prison for allowing my predators to walk, for abusing his power to cover up his crimes, and for continuing to fucking do so. There is no such thing as a good police officer. This is what happens when you don't have family. Nobody in the fucking government is going to do their job if your family doesn't give a shit. If you're autistic and you are fucking raped repeatedly, you can't turn in your predators unless you have somebody there and present. You are more likely to be victimized for turning in your predator than anyone else, regardless of gender. And as a man, yeah, you got to go deal with it a lot fucking worse. People don't care about men. We have a bunch of man-hating lesbians who want to pretend that everything that ever happened wrong in anybody's life is all the fault of men. You have no idea how many man-hating lesbians I know who have gone out of their way to destroy innocent men's lives, and then they say shit like, all men should be killed. You know, we don't need men. We can have babies without men. No, you fucking can't. You can clone a person without semen. That's nice. But you're not having a baby. All right? You're not having a baby. You are having a clone. Does that not make sense to you that that's completely different? Men, with modern science today, the same modern science that allows you to clone a baby, yes, men don't need women either to procreate. We do not need women. We don't. We have 11 different mammals that we are capable of gestating a human embryo in. The very same science that allows you to have an embryo put inside of you that is a clone of yourself can also be used to put a clone of myself into a fucking sheep or a pig. Jeannie Bell Black type, why doesn't your family give a shit? Because they're fucking child molesters and goddamn drug dealers. I don't have anything in common with them. And I told on them when they did bad shit. Don't steal from me. Don't lie to me. Don't go spreading slander about me that's going to have me harmed. And we aren't very likely to have an issue. My family doesn't give a shit because it doesn't fucking affect them. Although they're fucking lucky as shit because people wanted to kill them just because they're my family. And although I gave a shit about that, none of them gave a shit about me. Not one person that I am related to made any effort to help me. For an entire fucking year after Natalie was killed, my family was busy doing what my family always does. Taking advantage of each other. You type, not all women are the same, Sean. You are right. There are a lot of women in the United States who think this shit is just as wrong as I do. But also, those women admit that they were trained the same as all of the rest of us. Women aren't the only ones trained in this way. Men are trained the same bullshit. The same sexist bullshit that you start shoving on women or girls when they're 4 years old, you start shoving on boys when they're 4 years old. Not all women are the same. You're absolutely right. And not all men are the same. Sexism towards men is not considered sexism. It is considered socially acceptable. I used to clean Cabela's corporate offices. And in at least 2 to 3 cubicles in every single office scenario, because there's probably, I don't know, 10 different rooms that are full of cubicles, if not more. You go in there and you see all these little posters. They're not in people's individual cubicles inside of it where they can see it and have a small laugh at it. No, they have it out in the open on the outside of their cubicles in the little hallway thing where every guy who walks down that hallway in his supposedly safe working environment that is supposed to be not sexist, he gets to walk by that piece of paper every day. It's got a baby on it doing this. And it says, so many men, so little aspirin. And Cabela's allowed hundreds of those things to be posted all over that goddamn building. Many of these women with these things hanging out on the outside of their cubicle. They've got pictures of half-naked firemen on their calendar. No shirt whatsoever, nipples exposed, and these women are allowed to have it there. But I knew 2 men who got fired from Cabela's because they had people, these were women, of course, in swimming suits on their calendars. You can have a half-naked fireman on your calendar, and so many men, so little aspirin on the outside of your cubicle, and this dude isn't allowed to do the same thing. He's not allowed to have pictures of women in bikinis because it's sexist, because it's demeaning to women, because it's objectionalizing women as sexual objects. What are you doing with those firemen, bitch? What, you want to tell me that between the one with the kittens and the one with the half-naked firemen, you picked the one with the half-naked firemen because there was a fundraiser? No, there wasn't a fucking fundraiser. You saw that in Walmart on the shelf with nipples on it. You saw a 6-pack and nipples. And you went, that's appropriate for my workspace. I should be allowed to take 5 or 10 minutes out of my workday to stare at this half-naked fireman and get all fucking horny and juicy in my seat. I should be allowed to do that while telling men that they are pigs. I'd pick the kittens too. Jeannie Bell Black typed, "They should be ashamed." That she typed that while I was talking about my family, but I was busy rambling. And then she typed "true," and then she typed "that's crazy," and then she typed "I'd pick the kittens." I'd pick the kittens too. Pretty people pretty well stick with pretty people. The Martindales, they're all very spoiled. They're all pretty people. Now, Rick Martindale was born into a rich family, went to CU, fucking his whole life was fucking handed to him. The whole goddamn thing. But the thing about Rick Martindale and his pretty family, his 3 daughters, 2 of which are gorgeous enough to be supermodels, and his son, who is a model. Pretty people marry pretty people. Pretty people hang out with pretty people. Pretty people associate with pretty people. But if you're not a pretty people, you don't matter. You're not important. See, Josh Martindale, he's a good looking feller. And he married a woman who is in, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this magazine. It's called Maxim Magazine. Josh Martindale has never dated a woman that anyone would consider ugly unless they looked at the personality. 2 of his exes had pretty shitty personalities. But they were fucking hot, and that's what matters, right? They're fucking hot. So he got married to this woman who was in Maxim Magazine because she's fucking hot. She's fucking hot, Sean. She's fucking hot. Well, good. What are her other redeeming qualities? Like between telling me who she is as a human being and bragging to Chapel, Nebraska that, hey, I married a Maxim Magazine model. Well, cool. I don't know shit about the woman except that she was a Maxim Magazine model. And she's willing to spread her legs for a good looking douchebag like Josh Martindale. And Josh Martindale isn't a douchebag all the time. Most of the time, he's a nice guy. The nicest guys, in my opinion, are the ones that are not handsome. Well, I used to be nice, despite the fact that I'm not handsome, and I'm still nice in person. I still help people if they need it, but sadly, I am not nice if you do fucked up shit to myself and my loved ones. I'm not nice if you're going to make excuses for the predators or if you're going to help them get away. I'm not nice if you're going to lie to me and waste my time and waste my resources. I'm not nice anymore. Can I honestly say that's true? No, I can't, because I am extremely nice to Chris Kurth given the situation. I am extremely nice to Sandy Fromm given the situation. I am extremely nice to the Bollinger family given the situation. I am extremely nice. I didn't go running around assaulting anybody, but these people ran around assaulting me. That's what happens if you tell the right lie. If you tell the right lie, you get away with the crime. When you rape her, as long as you tell the right lie about her mental illnesses, you get away with raping her. When you steal all of his things and take advantage of him because he's in a desperate situation, all you got to do is tell the right lie. He's mentally ill. When you get all fucked up out of your goddamn gourd and go spread your legs for some dude who's got the fucking drugs that you want, that isn't my fault. That isn't my choice. I don't deserve that punishment. I don't deserve to be abused because you're a coward. I don't deserve to be abused because you lied. I don't deserve to be abused because I'm different. I don't deserve to be abused by you just because you were lied to. You weren't there. You didn't see it. So your opinion don't mean shit. What does matter is that you harass me over your opinion. You assault me over your opinion. You threaten to kill my friends and family over your opinion. You destroy my things over your opinion. You steal my things over your opinion. Yes, your opinion does fucking matter. Laura Nelson is a fucking coward. And yes, she admitted that. I have it on video. She admitted to being a fucking coward. So did Tony. Tony is another witness. And you know what? King of Nichols and Tony DeStassi and many of these other witnesses who should have come forward to begin with, they got angry at me for recording the things that they should have come forward with and putting them on YouTube. A lot of people don't fucking like that. Well, you know what? You had your chance to go in with me. You had your chance to speak up. You had your chance to tell the truth before I shamed you for being a coward. Jeannie Bell Black typed, I don't care for handsome men. They're always in the mirror. Right? And then she typed, I like intelligence. And then she typed, and you are actually better looking than you know, and you're so smart and passionate about what you fight for. Plus, you're a fantastic artist and can probably fix anything. There's lots of stuff I can't fix. I needed help with carburetor yesterday. It's still not fixed, but I got more done. As far as my looks, I'm one of the few people with no teeth who can talk as well as I can. I still have difficulties in enunciating. When my teeth started going bad, right, it wasn't over meth. It was over brushing. I brushed my teeth because I didn't want my teeth to be ugly. And I brushed the enamel right off. And then I ate some popcorn, and the popcorn got stuck in my gums, and they got infected. And that infection ate the base of all of my teeth. Ate them right up. And then I didn't smile anymore. People couldn't tell if I was telling a joke, being sarcastic, or being serious because I didn't smile anymore when I told jokes. When I got my teeth out, I got 22 of them yanked at once. And that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for one of my predators. Yes, Miss Jerry Sparks is one of my predators. The things that she did were wrong. She was not a sexual predator, but the things that she did were predatory. Her and Lana and their families ganging up on me over a situation that none of them were there for except for me and fucking Lana. Like, yeah, if you're going to treat me like shit because I didn't have sex with Lana, and then you're going to pretend it's about something else. No, I was there. I was the one who Lana grabbed my hand and put it on her chest. I was the one who told Lana no. I was the one who rejected her. And just like with the other women that I rejected, for a good reason, like Crystal Beauchamp, because she was drunk, and Jamie Curtis, because she was drunk, these women, when they feel rejected, have no issues whatsoever, no qualms at all about treating you like shit because you owed them, apparently, you owed them some fucking dick for rescuing them while they're drunk. That's just fucking nuts. You bitch about how men are pigs, about how all they want is sex, about how they just need to get over stuff. But do you? This woman here Stalked this guy for over a year after he left her. Straight up stalking. Sandy Fromm has straight up been actually stalking Tobe Smith since I fucking met her. These behaviors are socially acceptable for women. Yes, you individually may believe that it is wrong, but if you're not going to step up and speak up, and all of the people who want to be sexist about it are speaking up and are actually doing something. See, while I was asking people to do something, tell the truth, write it down on paper, and turn it into the cops. Get a copy for me so that I can give it to my lawyer, so that I can use it to even get a lawyer. That's not a difficult thing to ask for. Let's see. Jeannie Bell Black typed, yep, and ouch. And she typed, I've seen you smile. Not like I used to. I had some straight, pretty white teeth. I did. When you have a pretty white smile, you can pass lies to people like you wouldn't believe. But when you have no teeth at all, people don't fucking give a shit what you got to say. And yes, you might be the exception to the rule, and that's nice. But I'm not dealing with the exceptions. A lot of people, when I was trying to tell them about the abuse that I endure, they want to interrupt me to say, well, I didn't do that to you. I'm not telling you because you did it to me. I'm telling you because I have to endure it and I need help getting it to stop. Jeannie Bell Black type, don't worry, I just got done with a lot of dental work. I can finally smile again, but I'm making 300 a month payments and doing without some things, but it's worth it. My teeth went bad when I was homeless. Most homeless people got bad teeth. That's one of the key factors that prevents us from getting jobs. I mean, you got to get entry level jobs. You got to get jobs at fast food places and be glad to have them because you're homeless. And no, it's not the fast food that's destroying your teeth. It's just the nature of being homeless. You don't have access to all of the things that you like to fucking treat yourself to, like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, cooking your own damn food. Um, when you're homeless, your teeth start going bad. People don't want to hire you because you're not pretty. Your teeth are ugly looking. Let's say you're a server at the Cheesecake Factory and your job is to bring people out their food. Well, what happens when somebody sits down for their food in this nice, fancy, pretty restaurant and somebody at the table says something that makes you smile, and all of a sudden people can see the black deadness of your teeth and how nasty they are. So now they don't even want to finish their fucking meal. And that's what's going through the hiring dude's fucking head when he's looking at you. Yeah, I don't want to hire this person. Their teeth are gross. Teeth. You can be ugly as sin with straight teeth and still get a job at McDonald's. But if you're good looking with your mouth closed, but you smile and you got a fucking mouth full of ganglies, yeah, they're probably not going to hire you. It's difficult to get a job when you don't look the way people want you to. Jeannie Black type, yep, I've noticed that. People lie straight to your face and smile all the while. Yep, right. And shame people are so shallow. I agree. A lot of people like King of Nichols. I told true stories. I told those stories for a reason. The situation that the Bollingers were trying to sell and the situation that I was in were not the same. King of Nichols The evidence from her proves that. Same thing from Kayla Trujillo and many others that I went to them for help. Jeannie Bell Black type, are you staying warm? Yes, I am. It has not been all that cold here recently, and this thing does have a lot of fucking holes in it. If you notice, there's tape right here, and tape right there, and tape right there, and tape across this seam, and there's tape all over the place to try to keep the wind from coming in real bad like it does. And I got this towel here covering the top half of my door where there's a crease, and then I have another towel down here at the bottom that stretches along the lower half of it, and that helps to keep the breeze out. When I stay in my horse trailer, it's cold as fuck. There's no electricity out there. I used up all of my propane tank, so there's no propane heat out there anymore. And it's so big and so full of shit, it's difficult to get the whole thing sealed off. Life is what it is, though, ain't it? With Sandy Fromm, I've had a lot of people who have treated me like shit over her, and then they admit that it's not my fault. That's nice. I'm glad you admitted that it's not my fault. I just wish that you'd have come to that conclusion before you tore my ass instead of hers. When you tell me that I just have to let her do that to me or I am not allowed back, you notice I don't do that to her. But do you tell her the same thing? And this dude, we had a few deals that we made, and just like everybody, when he doesn't keep his end of the bargain, it's no big thing. But then there's the fact that, a lot of the agreements and bargains that we made, it was over situations that they did change. When the situation changes, I am going to be understanding of his situation, just like I'm understanding of this guy's situation. I am going to be understanding of it. I'm going to do my best when you're telling me a story. Instead of telling you how to think or feel, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. When this guy calls me up and tells me, how he feels when I say, we've had this guy on standby on 3 different days where we never actually used him, and he says, please don't say that anymore. It makes me feel bad. Well, you say a lot of things that make me feel bad too. And I tell you, I don't want to hear about Sandy every time I come over. He says, I listen to you bitch about your stuff enough that I should deserve at least, 15 minutes to bitch about mine. But he doesn't realize how much he bitches. And the situation where he bitched for 15 minutes, it was about a friend of his, and they'd had a financial issue, and, it's over with. They're still friends. It's not a problem anymore. Part of that's because of me. I'm pretty tactful, quite diplomatic. That's how I tried to deal with all of this, in a diplomatic fashion. That didn't work. If, let's say, for example, there's a situation where 2 people that I care about are going at it. Let's pretend it's my dad's family and my mom's family. And they're fucking going at it. I don't want to be involved. I do legit care about both sides. I also know that nothing good will come of me getting involved. All they will do is what Brett Roloff and his girlfriend Amber did while I was up there in fucking Tennessee. They're only going to listen to me enough that they can use something that I said to try to twist completely out of fucking proportion so they can use me as a tool to try to win arguments with the other meth head in the house. that's fucking screwed. Jeannie Bell Black type, thank goodness. I've been worried about you being cold. Good ideas with the towels. You know, a lot of people care if I'm alive or dead. A lot of people wish I was dead. A lot of people say they're glad that I'm alive. I wish I were dead. It's nice to read pretty things like that. It is. It's nice to read that people care about your well-being. But the thing is that I was homeless for a lot of years. I can handle the cold. I know how to layer up. Right now, I'm wearing 2 pairs of pants. I know how to make sure that I'm fed. If I don't have money for food, I'll go kill something. I don't mind eating rabbits. But there's also the fact that that's actually illegal. I can't just go out and shoot a rabbit and eat it. I can do it with a bow and get away with it. Jeannie Bell Black typed, I'm glad you're here, Shawn. I enjoy listening to you. You've got something important to say always. Well, thank you. A lot of people said that to me in the past, though, people who said that they were going to help. And you haven't offered to help the way that they did. These people want to pretend that I'm crazy and angry for no reason. No, these people wasted my time. They wasted my resources. They lied to me outright, and they helped my predators. So how am I not supposed to be pissed off? How am I not supposed to be leery of human beings? It's nice to hear the pretty words once in a while, but then there's the, you got to follow through and put a plan into action. A lot of people aren't able to do that. A lot of the people who offered to help me, I didn't find out until much later that they were drug addicts themselves, just like Natalie. You see how well it worked out, me going to try to get help from Natalie, for me to try to get her to put a stop to the violence that I had to endure over and over and over again over a lie that she told. And those lies just kept on getting worse and worse and worse and more and more and more fucking farcical in the realm of fucking goddamn fantasy. But right from the very beginning, when Natalie and her family told that first lie while I was stuck in the fucking road outside of her house in Chesapeake, fucking Virginia, that very first lie resulted in police going vigilante and breaking my vehicle further. They should have taken a fucking police report from me, but they didn't. I want to show you something here. This is my bag of ammunition. Let me show you what it looks like. 3% USP, hydrogen peroxide. Non-stick pads, rolled gauze, butterfly closures, emery boards, triple antibiotic ointment, rolled gauze, alcohol prep pads. What's this stuff for? I know a lot of fucking dead people. I know a lot of people who they need a 5-minute bandaging, but the only help that they're going to get is to spend thousands of dollars that they don't fucking have to go to Sydney to get stitches. Them butterflies will fix most of the stuff you're going to need stitches for. This is my goddamn ammunition. This is the go bag I'm going to grab if there's a World War III. Everybody's got fucking bullets here. Everybody. Everybody's got fucking guns here. And if they don't have guns here, if World War III happens, their neighbor isn't going to be trying to fire 6 rifles at once. This is the ammunition I'm bringing to the battlefield. And I realize there ain't much here. You know, I also got some needles, like upholstery needles. Why do I have those? So I can fucking stitch myself up if I need. Unfortunately, I can't find unwaxed dental floss. Yes, you can sew yourself up with dental floss, but you cannot use unwaxed dental floss, or you can't use waxed dental floss. And I'll tell you why. Wax, it holds nasty shit you don't want in your body. Radiolarians, protozoans, for the most part, those are safe. But a lot of the infections and things that you can get will basically seal themselves in wax if they're in wax. And basically it becomes a fucking petri dish. You get a bunch of unhealthy stuff in there. If you're going to sew yourself up with something like that, you're also running the risk of some of that wax coming loose inside of your system. The other thing is that it's water resistant. It's pretty well liquid resistant. If you take this unwaxed dental floss that I got and you want to sterilize it in some alcohol or peroxide before sewing somebody up, it's not going to penetrate. The wax is not going to allow it. Oh God, fishing line is a bad idea. I've heard of people using fishing line. I've also heard of people dying from using fishing line, and I don't know if either one are true. I do know that I have watched people sew themselves up with dental floss, and I've also watched them take out their own stitches a week later. As long as you keep it irrigated, keep it clean, keep on putting the triple antibiotic ointment on, just remember that it's going to feel weird when you pull out the stitches. You're going to have to clip them all one at a time, and you're going to have to make sure that you tie the knots right. If you're doing home stitching, let's say you got a cut on your stomach right here. You can use both hands to do it. But if you get a cut on your arm, you can't. It's going to be difficult for you to tie a tight knot. And you're going to want to tie what's called a bull knot. It's one of the easiest knots ever. If you tie a bull knot improperly, then it comes loose, though. Obviously, you don't want that happening. It's important to know that there's a lot of the stuff that you go to the hospital for that you should probably learn how to do yourself. There's a lot of stuff that you go to the store for that you should probably learn how to do yourself. There's probably rich people out there who have never driven a day in their lives. Why would you if you've got a chauffeur? But what happens if your chauffeur has a fucking heart attack? It's just you and him. It's hot as fucking hell. Your vehicle is black. There's no water in sight. And you don't know how to fucking drive now. But you need to know how to drive. You guys are pretty well dependent on what's already here. And it doesn't occur to you how fickle this shit is, how easily it can be removed, how easily laws can change to deny you the rights to those things you paid your taxes for. Most of the major medical advances made in the United States were paid for by the American taxpayer, who still cannot afford the benefits of what they fucking paid for. Sure, you paid for a super magnetron electron something or other, They cost billions of dollars to the taxpayers. And sure, this thing might be able to bombard the cancer right out of your body, but you're not going to be allowed to use it. You paid for it. You went to work for the son of a bitches who are going to get to use it. And that's the problem with the government. They're spending your money on their wants, not our needs as a nation. And certainly not our needs as citizens, especially if we're poor. A lot of upper middle class people who don't know the first goddamn thing about homelessness are the first ones to fucking judge the homeless and treat the homeless like shit. They're the first ones to make excuses why the victims deserved it. They're the first ones to threaten lives, and they're the first ones to bitch if they think you're going to call the cops. And they're the first ones to call the motherfucking cops. Let's see. Jeannie Bell Black typed, "Oh, okay, makes sense. I make candles, medicine, and lotions and can weld." I want to show you some cool stuff, lady. My welding gloves. When I said I invested in tools in my future, I wasn't kidding. Anyway. My welder. I've made candles before too. All of my molds got stolen, but I do like making candles. I don't make medicine, but I do make candles and I do weld. And I'm not very good at welding, and this isn't a very powerful welder. But I actually bought this stick welder because the one that I ordered online, let me show you this cheap shit. This is the entire welder that I was sent. Got it on eBay. Has no contacts, no leads, no striker, no ground clip. And no way to plug it into the wall that is anywhere closely approaching reasonably safe. A lot of people aren't understanding how they treat me. A lot of these people, if I sat down and let them listen to the videos between them and I, the recordings between them and I, be like, yeah, you're right, Sean. I do talk about myself an awful lot. You're right. I did spend 45 minutes fucking complaining about Sandy Fromm. And then as soon as you said something, I told you I don't care. There's a lot of these people that I didn't record. There was no reason to. Of course, then, when they give me a reason to, I'm not busy recording them. Like, fuck, if I'd have known that you were going to pull that little fucking piece of bullshit out of your ass, I'd have made sure I was recording you the whole time. If I'd have known that you were going to stick up for a person that you knew was molesting your kids, I'd have recorded it the whole time. Of course, that's not even true either, is it? I mean, through most of this situation, I haven't had the ability to record people. It wasn't until Danny sent me the little recording device that he sent me that I was able to get most of the information that I did. But I got proof from at least 3 different witnesses that Sandy Fromm did indeed threaten my life, including Sandy Fromm. If you saw our messages between each other, you'd realize that she was asking me to break the law because she didn't want to get in trouble for drinking and driving. She hasn't stopped drinking and driving. No, I am not going to help you. I want you off the fucking road. If you're going to drink, stay off the road. If you're going to be on the road, stay off the drink. Also, for Christ's fucking sake, woman, stop Toby Smith. Please. You want a bitch that Toby said that he would shoot you the next time you break into his house? Keep in mind that you broke into his house at 2 o'clock in the fucking morning, Sandy. He told you to leave and not to come back, and you literally broke into his fucking house. Sandy, you're lucky that he didn't fucking shoot you then. God knows he would have been well within his fucking rights to do so. All right. I had Jeannie Bell Black typed. I had to sell my candle business so I could go home to take care of Mom. I know that one. I've gone home to take care of a lot of people. My mom ain't one of them, though. I am probably the only kid that would. Of course, stupid people don't understand that until it's too goddamn late. My retirement plan for my mother is to take her down to Pearl Street in her wheelchair and fucking leave her there. I think that's the right thing to do. But when it all comes down to it, would I have the heart to do that? No, I wouldn't. I think that's the fair and equal thing to do. But I'm not evil. My mother is. Jeannie Bell Black type. That's not good. I use frozen orange juice cans and milk cartons now. LOL for molds. Yes, ma'am. And that's the best part about using the orange juice cans. You know, you can cut them right off. Um, they leave that little spiral on the outside that kind of actually makes it look sort of decorative. And also because it's got the silver stuff on the inside of it, and it's got a bottom on it. It's not like trying to make it in a toilet paper roll. I was going to show you a toilet paper roll. When you try to pull the toilet paper roll off of the wax, it always ends up with the brown fur on the outside. That just looks, well, it looks weird. But yeah, cans are a good idea. So are the milk cartons. For me, when I was talking about molds, I was actually using candy molds. You know, the ones that you get for making like heart-shaped chocolate on Valentine's Day, or yeah, make the little white chocolate flowers for weddings, or stuff like that. Yeah, you can make what do they call them? Votive candles, is that right? Like basically, you just take that mold and you poke a fucking hole in it. You stick your wick in before you pour the fucking wax on, and then you trim the backside but not the front. When you pop them out of the mold, the hole's just big enough that the wax is going through, and it's also, when you pour it into the mold, obviously that the wick is pointing down through that hole, so the melted wax will actually soak the wick like you want it to. And a lot of people don't understand what that means or what it's for. If you burn the wick itself, there's going to be a lot of soot. You're burning a wick. A wick's purpose isn't to be burnt. It's to soak up the stuff that you want to burn, which is the wax. You want the melted wax to be sucked up through the wick, and the heat will actually help it to do that. But you gotta have your wick coated in wax to begin with. Otherwise, it's not going to saturate into it, and you're going to burn the organic material rather than the oily material that you're intending to burn. Let's see. Jeannie Bell Black type, yes, I wish I'd recorded some ignorant people. I'm actually a silversmith, but I know how to weld. My sons are all in the Boilermakers Union. Oh, fuck! That's work. That's real work. Those of you who don't know what Boilermakers are, I recommend looking that up. That is, between looking up the Freemasons and looking up Boilermakers, the difference between Freemasons and Boilermakers is that Freemasons aren't actual fucking Masons. The reason that the Freemasons were called Freemasons is because the only people in the ancient or in the medieval and dark ages that was allowed to actually freely travel were Masons, because they were constantly moving from one job to another, building castles for rich lords. Since they were the only people who were allowed to travel freely like that, any revolutions that took place at the time were orchestrated by Masons. Now, when we talk about the Freemasons owning the whole world and all this, that, and the other, it all comes off of the stories that started back then. Sure, you may be a Mason who's building a castle for the King of France, but you don't have to like the King of France. And because you're allowed to travel freely between his castles and you're helping to build them, like, you know the layout of the castle. If anybody decides that they want to go destroy the fucking castle, you can tell them how to do it. So, a Freemason, you may have Freemasons that are French working for the British, or the British working for the French, or both working for the Spanish. Freemasons, many of them were actually subjects of the church. If the Pope said, hey, you're going to France, you're going to France, he says, hey, we're not getting along with France right now, send them to England, that's where they went. But then you end up with Mary, Queen of Scots, and Queen Elizabeth, and the Protestant Reformation, the separation of the Church of Great Britain from, or the Church of England from the Catholic Church. Well, they're not going to be sending any more Masons up to Britain, are they? No, they're not. But with Boilermakers, what do? They make boilers. It's self-fucking-explanatory. But also, any of you who have ever had to work with metal, especially on a hot day, let's say you're out there having to push your car, and it's a fucking hot day in California, and your vehicle is black, and you put your hands on the back, and it fucking burns, you know? Or you get into your vehicle, and that fucking black leather seat has been sitting in the sun all day, and you're only wearing a t-shirt, and you lay back, and damn, you burn the shit out yourself, don't you? When it comes to Boilermakers, it's a lot more fascinating than Freemasons, because the story of the Boilermakers is a true story. It's not 90% fictionalized. If you guys want to look back to the British variants and their versions, and you want to come and look at ours, and really, if you're going to learn about Boilermakers, you're not talking about something that's truly ancient. You're talking about something that's just at least a little bit more modern than Freemasonry. And, you know, that's not to say that Freemasonry, or actual Masonry, sorry, isn't just as valid today as it was 1,000 years ago. We still build houses out of stones. We still build houses out of bricks. So obviously, Masonry is still valid. Let's see. Jeannie Bell Black type, very interesting. Dangerous job when they're up high in the freezing cold. The boy's grandfather and dad were both Boilermakers. Well, most Masons were descending to Masons as well. Um, a lot of people, until really the latter half of the last century, most people learned through internship. You might get an internship at 8 or 9 years old to learn how to be a blacksmith. You're already in there at 8 or 9 years old working, learning the tricks of the trade. Um, a lot of times people's last names it wasn't their actual last name, it was their title. John the Smith, or Jacob the Cobbler, or I don't need to make a bunch of examples of that, do I? All right, it's starting to get chilly here. There's my heater so that, I'm not freezing, Miss Jenny. I've been talking for about 2 hours and 20 minutes on this video, and I know that's long, but I don't have any other friends, really, I mean, when I got something to get off my chest, I don't get afforded the same as I give others. I listen to Sandy Fromm and her bitching, and I listen to this other lady and her bitching, and I listen to all these people and their issues and their problems. And, if they say, hey, there's a problem that I got with you and your situation with Sandy, I don't want it here at my house. Well, that's fine. So I don't want it there at your house either. If she's gone, then that problem isn't actually there. And you don't need to go off about her for an hour. There's no need for that. You don't. If she's gone, and instead of talking about her the whole time she's gone, we can do something else. Also, a lot of the issue is this guy's he's got different special interests than I do. That doesn't make him a bad person. Just because he likes cowboy westerns and I don't, doesn't mean that he's a bad person. Just because I really like military stuff and he's not really into it, doesn't mean that he's a bad person. Different strokes for different folks, right? But there's also stuff that shouldn't be different. It shouldn't be different just because you have a house. It shouldn't be different just because you have a penis or a vagina. There's a lot of people who expect special treatment because people were not so nice to them. Say their parents were mean to them because they were gay, or it could be any number of those things. It could be the color of your skin. It could be the way you talk or the way you walk. It could be the amount of money that you got in your pocket. But the thing is, if you're not willing to see another human being who's going through that and put yourself in their shoes, and you want to be an asshole to those people who are in that situation, and you can't even remember back far enough to when you were in that situation to go, damn, that's a fucked up thing for me to do. Like when you've had to walk from the north end of Boulder at the homeless shelter because you and the guy that you walked up there with didn't get in. Well, now you got to go down to the warming center, and the warming center is south of Table Mesa. You got to walk there in the cold. When people are like, dude, fucking my vehicle's busted. I'm drunk. I can't fucking make it home. Can I stay on your fucking couch? You goddamn right you can. Hell the fuck yes. No, I'm not real fucking happy with alcoholics, especially if you're a fucking asshole or a douchebag. But yes, between you running somebody over and passing out on my couch, I would rather you passed out on my couch than run over somebody's 4-year-old. That's just me. It says, I'm so glad you're staying warm. I don't have any friends either. I only leave the house to go to the doctor and dentist. I've become afraid of the outside world. Not nature, just people. Me too, 100%. They can't be trusted. And the more they push you to trust them, the less trustworthy they are. There are people who never made me question their honesty. And they're all dead. People who've experienced homelessness can understand a small part of what I've been through. Jeannie Bell Black typed especially druggies and drunks, but it was wanting to hide it, so I pressed show. If you notice in the questions that people ask me, there's two different types of folks. There's the people who are genuinely interested, and then there's the one who are hecklers and assholes and hazers and harassers. Between answering their questions and answering Jeannie Bell Black's questions, I'd rather answer Jeannie's. Also, the fact that I literally made this video because on YouTube this morning I got 3 different notifications. Let me see, 4 different ones. And I'll read what they said, although I read them at the very beginning. Well, I started off with the one from Star Maya. Hey, Mr. Shawn, I lost faith and hope in everyone and everything for a long time. You have had so many problems, one ton after another. You don't seem to have given up at all. I gave up. I did. I'm still fighting because I'm still here. But Jeannie Bell Black typed, very interesting. I hope you're having a good day today and eating and warm enough. I hate spiders except the one I had as a roommate while I was healing from my surgery. And then she typed, how do you know so much about guns? I wish people would see you for your intelligence instead of the hate red they give you. You would surely be an asset to any company as a problem solver or even military intelligence. I do like strategy. And then this one, she typed, eat the rich. So when I made this one, it was actually specifically because you asked me, Miss Jeannie, about guns. These are all BB guns. Most of the guns that I fixed here in Chapel, Nebraska, it's people's hunting rifles. You know, for the most part, the first time somebody bring that shit to me, I didn't know enough about it to fix it. The first shotgun that I fixed was a Mossberg, and the problem that Mossberg had is a pretty common problem among Mossbergs. Is it a problem with the rifle? No, it's a problem with the gun owner throwing it down in the dirt because they got excited and they want to go chase down their dove. But the first Mossberg that I ever fixed, I didn't know what the hell I was tearing into. And I only got it back together by luck. Some of those pieces that were in there didn't fit in really nice. And one of the springs, I had to walk around the house with this magnet all over the carpet, fucking hours on end trying to find this goddamn spring that went flying out. But it went flying out because I wasn't expecting it to be there. Any of you who have ever opened up a carburetor for the first time and gone, all right, I don't know what the fuck just flew out of there, but you're probably not going to find it. That's probably the most important part of the thing. It's probably a little BB that goes up and down, and it's on a spring, and it's an essential part of your carburetor. I don't even remember what the point was I was trying to make there. If something is wrong, you can either do something about it or you can do nothing. Do you know why black people in America are not all property of Southern slave owners? Do you know why that is? So there was enough people who thought that slavery was wrong that despite the fact that they weren't the color of the slaves, they were willing to die for those slaves to have freedom. Something that people tend to forget this day and age. Over 600,000 soldiers died fighting for the North. 600,000 American soldiers, predominantly white, died so that black people could be free, so that black people wouldn't have to be property of the same 1% we bitch about today. Did you know less than 1% of all Southerners owned slaves? Less than 1%. Also, Jefferson Davis enacted the draft, making every single Southerner a soldier. The fucked up thing about that is most of these soldiers had never owned a slave. Many of them didn't even own a pair of fucking shoes. Can you imagine that? A white guy in the South, some of them pissed off because these slaves have shoes and nice clothes. And we're not talking nice clothes like dress suits. You can't be a respectable Southern plantation owner if your slaves are all wearing dirty, filthy, soiled rags, though. But that poor Southerner who's living off in the woods, shit, he ain't got 4 slaves to wash all the laundry. He ain't got 30 people that he can have mend his stuff whenever he wants. The reason that I know so much about Eugene Stoner and Mikhail Kalashnikov is because they are the creators of the 2 most iconic guns of modern day. The AK-47 and the M16 are the 2 guns that anybody on the fucking planet ought to recognize. A lot of guns like the FN FAL or the G FAL or the GM6 or things like this, like they're nice rifles, people do kind of like them, but really, if they saw one of them next to Rashid, they wouldn't know the difference. By the way, a Rashid is a kind of a cross between an Israeli Galil and an AK-47. It's pretty important that if you're going to live in the world today, that you know something about the world you live in. You also need to get a little bit better at risk assessment and threat assessment, because it seems to me you're going back to the dude who already beat you. So your risk and threat assessment is fucking broken. Also, the dude who rescued you, you kind of fucked him over severely. So I'd say that your sense of loyalty is non-existent. And that's not you in specific, Gene. I was just talking in general. But this is the world I live in, where I don't have the same rights and I'm not able to or allowed to do the same things as others because of my disability. But then people think that if they continue to tell me to do something that I'm not allowed to do, but they are, that somehow it'll magically change my situation so that I am able to do the things that they're able to do, or am allowed to do the things they're able to do. God, it would have sure been nice if I'd have been allowed to turn in fucking Natalie Bollinger and fucking Tim Beeston. That would have been nice, especially since they were actually committing actual harmful acts against me. And then they didn't like being cursed at. Holy fuck, you fucking whiny little bitches. I'm being assaulted because you fucking lied and you want to pretend like I'm trying to hurt you because I called you a fucking cunt. Yeah, well, If you spread lies that get innocent people hurt, yes, I'm going to call you a cunt. I don't care if you're mom, if you're my dad. I don't care if you're my best friend. I don't care if you're my worst enemy. Kind of like if you molest a child. I don't care if you're my brother, my mother, my best friend. Hell, if I found out that my wife was having sex with an underage child, oh, dude, I would push that to the ends of the earth. Yeah, I married a woman who is molesting children. Yeah, I don't want to be married to her, first of all. And second of all, I don't want her being released from prison. She's a goddamn child molester. You not get that? If a woman does this fucked up shit, I'm not going to turn a blind eye just because she's a woman. I'm not going to make excuses for her saying, oh, well, she probably learned it from men. Another restricted call. Goddamn, gotta love them, don't we? I want to show you something here. This is just from today. I'll click it over the live streaming because I'm not reading this stuff over here anymore. Oh, wow, you typed a bunch over here. Let's see. No, they can't, especially druggies and drunks. They can't be trusted. I get homelessness. I was homeless for many years and many times. And thank you, sir. And here's one that's held for review. It said, you should definitely grow your hair to your butt. I used to have my hair to my butt. When I was in Washington State, my hair went all the way down to my backside. My dad beat me up the third time over an F I got in PE. And so I was going to move to Chapel, Nebraska. I was 15 at the time. He tells me, Shawn, I'm not going to take you to the airport until you cut your hair because if you don't cut your hair, they're going to beat you up in Nebraska for being gay. Of course, then I moved here, and there were people here with long hair, not as long as I had, but there were long haired dudes. Genie Black type sad. I always cried for the slaves on the movies. People don't understand what they haven't lived, and that's true. She typed, there is no excuse, and that's true as well. And she typed, I wish the colors would leave you alone. You know, the colors ain't a problem. You notice when he calls, I just set it down. You know, it's no big fucking thing. It bugs the shit out of me that he's doing it. But he's not one of the ones threatening to kill me. He's not coming and hunting me down in real life like Chris Kurth. He's not trying to intimidate me into leaving town like the sheriff here or any of his deputies or like Cody Selhorse did in 2018. See, the great thing about it is it says restricted. This right here, if this person typing from this restricted number decides that they're going to swing at me through the phone, it doesn't matter. It's just a phone. If they swing at me through their phone, they're going to break their phone, not my face. Hey, what? Here, hold on a second. I'm live streaming a video, so I gotta turn it off real quick. Could you give me like 5 minutes? Yeah, I just wanted to let you know I want to do it tomorrow. I don't want to do it tonight. I'm not up to it. So. All right, I'll let him know. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. Well, we're supposed to go over at 7. The guy here, today's his day off. I believe tomorrow he's got visitation with his kids, so he's probably not going to be able to help this guy. That's not my fault. That's not my choice, not my problem. But that's also not going to stop me from going over there to help this man tomorrow. For a lot of these folks, it's not that they're bad people. It's that they can't put themselves in someone else's shoes. especially when they're going through their own shit. And sure, most of their shit is completely fucking trivial compared to what I'm going through, but it's important to them, and because it's important to them, I listen. When you tell me you're tired of Sandy coming over and fucking bitching all the damn time, and you're tired of her doing this and doing that and so on and so forth, like, yeah, don't take it out on me. If you're pissed off at Sandy because she won't leave you the fuck alone, well, that's not something I should have to deal with. If she's coming over and bitching to you about me after what she did, and I'm just trying to mind my own business and enjoy my time without Sandy present, then listening to you talk about Sandy is not going to help the situation. You know, especially if you say that you don't want to hear it, you don't care, but then you kind of expect me to sit there for 45 minutes and listen to you complain about her. It's okay for you, but not okay for me. I get it. I do. My dad's very much that way. Most people are that way. Now, I gotta go let this guy know that I feel bad. I mean, this dude does need money. He needs to work. He could use a full time job, but most of the jobs around here, first of all, aren't going to hire. Um, and that has to do with partially reputation and partially the slander that came from his ex. And, yeah, I get to hear, you know, I heard Dallas was doing this, and I heard Elvis was doing that, and I heard that fucking, you know, that's the thing. It's always somebody doing something that makes it okay that you did what you did. There's always some excuse. Like with the Bollingers, for example. They threatened me, threatened my life, sent their friends to come and assault me on repeated occasions. These people were predatory towards me, and nobody would do shit. But if I do any of that shit back, you look at how fucking horribly I'm treated. Oh, Shawn, you're the devil. You obviously must be mentally ill. You're a terrible person for doing to these people back some of the things they did to you. Out of the thousands of people who did horrible things to you, Shawn, you did horrible things back to 3 of them. So you obviously had it coming. Like these officers for over a year doing everything in their power not to do their fucking job. Then they get to use the term mentally ill to try to hide behind the fact that they didn't do their job, which is still nicer than those fucking punk ass little bitches who hide behind their kids. You don't get to do fucked up shit to me and then hide behind your kids. Your kids didn't do that fucked up shit, you did. If you said you're going to show up and then you didn't, that's not your kid's fault, that's yours. If there are circumstances that prevent you from being able to go, then it is your responsibility to voice that. When I voiced what it is that you told me, and I voiced that to my public pretenders, they didn't give a shit. You needed to tell them. You needed to go in with me. You needed to stop making excuses or stop making promises. One or the other. Now, are any of these people bad people? No, they're not. A lot of them are fucking nearsighted. A lot of them have problems putting themselves in somebody else's shoes. But you know what? On the bright side, that gentleman just called me, and although, you know, it's only 30 minutes from when we were supposed to be there, at least he called me beforehand. Whereas Pierre Byron, aka Pierre whatever the fuck he wants to go by, when he wasn't going to show up, he didn't bother to tell me. He didn't care. It didn't matter. He said, well, I'll meet you at Starbucks on fucking Main Street and University. I'll meet you there at 9:30 tomorrow morning. And I went there, 9:30 the next day. He never showed up. I messaged him because he never fucking showed up. He didn't bother to get back a hold of me to let me know he wasn't showing up. He just didn't show up. Much like my public pretenders, they just didn't show up. Much like the investigators that I was supposed to talk to for my public pretenders, who just didn't show up. Pierre, just plain and simple, didn't show up. Of course, why would he? He's busy chasing tail. He's one of those dudes that you bitch at me about, but then you'll throw yourself at him because he's a fucking redhead and say, oh yeah, men are superficial. Dr. Edward Richthofen, I'm sorry you have to go through this. It's so rough, man. It is. Manfred von Richthofen. He's a little more famous than you. Spelled a little different, though, too. But as soon as I saw your name, that's what it made me think of. I don't need sorries, I need voices. See, them slaves in the South during the Civil War, they didn't need sorries either. They needed voices. And if your voice isn't heard, and you're in that situation, you're goddamn right, you'd be glad to see the United States Army marching into your town. We the people isn't we anymore. It's every person out for themselves. Except for the government. They work pretty well together to make sure that you guys are well and thoroughly screwed. We the people of the United States means we the top 1%. The top 1% who own more wealth than all other people in the world combined. The top 1% of the American population has that kind of wealth. And they talk about how they need to move their stuff to offshore stuff because they're being stolen from by our government. Our government is giving them tax breaks at the expense of the American people and the expense of small business owners like Gary. Like, yeah, Gary paid taxes every year for Cabela's, so Cabela's didn't have to pay taxes. It's not that they never paid any, it's that they got tax breaks for having a certain amount of employees. And Gary, he doesn't have that many employees, so he's got to pay in. That's how this works. Take from the rich and give to the poor, right? No, that's not the United States way. The American way is to steal from the poor, give to the rich, and then tell the poor that they deserved it, that they stole from themselves, that it's their fault. Kind of like the whole it's your fault that you got raped thing. No, first of all, it wasn't your fault that you got raped. You got raped. Hopefully, you were intelligent enough to leave the situation and not go back to the dude who raped you. But when you've gone back on multiple occasions, it does become your fault that you're getting raped. There's a big difference between you getting raped, not knowing that it's going to happen, thinking that this person is trustworthy, thinking that this person actually cares about you, because most rapists are somebody that you know. You think he's your friend, and then he rapes you. Yeah, that is completely wrong of him to do, and something needs to be done. You need to speak up to put him in prison so that he doesn't rape somebody else. But if you were dating and it's been a couple of weeks and you're lonely, you might go back to that dude and get raped again. And sure, it might not be rape. It might just be getting the holy fucking hell beaten out of you. But the fact is, I'm not the one going back to that man. You are. I'm not the one that beat you. He is. Between my friendship and his penis, you've proven that you are exactly what you hate about men. Jeannie Bell Black typed "It sure is." Dr. Edward Richtofen typed, I got my name from a game character. But sorry is all I can say. But I hear your voice. You are heard by some of us. Thank you. The thing is that people need to speak out. See, that's the thing about all the most terrible atrocities in our history. They didn't happen because we were clueless. They happened because we didn't do anything about it when it made a difference. And as a result, it got out of hand and resulted in, well, in the case of World War II, 140 million dead people. 140 million people died in World War II. We're not talking American soldiers. We're not talking Russian soldiers. We're not talking British soldiers or German soldiers or Japanese soldiers or Australian soldiers or African soldiers. We're talking about people, whether they were soldiers or not. Carpet bombing is in fucking discriminate. That bomb is not going to go, oh, that lady pushing that stroller is not wearing a military uniform. We should move over to the left a little bit. Many of these people just aren't willing to put themselves in someone else's shoes. And some of these people are so used to being in a position where they just get to be a dominant asshole that it doesn't occur to them that other human beings have emotions or that other human beings could be going through some shit themselves. See, with all these people, when they gave me their excuses why they didn't do what it is that they said they would do, I wanted to believe they were telling the truth. And I spoke up frequently in my videos about how grateful that I was for these people. But then when it turned out these people were full of shit, after months and months and months of fucking being full of shit, they're still full of shit. Just that I didn't know it at the beginning. And after 7 months of listening to them feed me bullshit that's all bullshit, yeah, obviously, at that point in time, I'm like, hey, you've been bullshitting me for 7 months. I have every right to be pissed off. No, you're a terrible person for posting it on the internet. It wouldn't have gone on the internet if you'd have kept your fucking word when it made a fucking difference. Peaches and Tabby and all these other people pissed off because their shit is recorded and on fucking YouTube. Motherfucker, you had the chance to tell the truth in a court of law. Instead, you wanted to tell me, and yes, I fucking recorded it. I wouldn't have had to do that if you'd have kept your word. And those of you who didn't give your word, I also wouldn't have had to do that if you'd have been a decent fucking person. Alicia Bollinger never gave me her word that she would come forward and tell the truth about it. But the fact that she didn't and has made no effort to do so and has done everything in her power to make sure that I am victimized for the crimes of her and her family, well, hell, the hell kind of a scenario are we in here? I need people to speak up. If you don't speak up now, it gets worse. It turns into bodies, and there's already enough bodies over this situation. There is already enough bodies over Natalie and Alicia Bollinger fucking lying because they were strung out on fucking heroin. Maybe you should ask the wife of Tibor Hatay how she feels about her husband being dead, despite the fact that that hospital has a history of doing these things. How do you think she would feel knowing that her husband's life could have been saved if people had listened to me when those crimes were committed against me instead of trying to cover them up? How do you think the family of Dmitry Shankling feels? Their son is dead. He was killed by cops who I had tried to turn in. That conversation with George, there were 7 officers who took part in that chair assault. 7 of them. And George was a witness. And as a witness who spoke up, who spoke to me about it, and I posted it on YouTube to show the truth. Same as I did with these other people. I showed that they fucking lied to me, and they didn't like it. I showed that they bullshitted me, and they didn't fucking like it. I showed that their decisions and their bullshit and their lies resulted in much harm against me, and they didn't fucking like it. Shawn, you're a terrible person. That's not everybody's business. Actually, it is. It is everyone's business. If you have a disabled person being abused in the United States of America, it is your business. What do? You tell yourself that they're weak? They're retarded? Is that what you tell yourself to justify walking right past? Is that what you do to rape victims? If you walked by somebody being raped, would you do something about it or would you keep fucking walking? Most of you would keep walking. The difference between someone being bullied over and over and over again and that bullying ending comes down to safety in numbers. A lot of the people that I defended growing up, I saw them picked on a lot. And the bullying continued as long as nobody did anything about it. Now, there was one kid, his bully, it was just between the 2 of them. And I was like, well, whatever, it's just between the 2 of them. But then on the playground one day, this jock, he's fucking the cool dude. He's got lots of people who like him because he's good looking. He's dating the pretty girl in school. So when he decides that he's going to be a jerk to that dork on the fucking playground, everybody on the fucking playground is getting involved. Oh, they think it's fucking hilarious. They think it's great that Snot-Nose is being picked on by this dude. Big old fucking Coke bottle glasses, fucking big old globule of fucking snot bubble coming out of his nose. I mean, this kid obviously fucking... Why would you want to fucking be a bully to somebody like that? Seriously. But then it's popular, so the other kids are getting involved. Now you got fucking 8 kids that are picking on this one fucking kid who just wants to be left the fuck alone. And you start pushing him, and one of these kids gets down on all fours behind this kid, and then the dude in front of him pushes him over this kid who's leaning down behind him. I mean, at this point, you're getting physically violent with this kid for being different. You're being physically violent with him because of how he looks. Sure, you don't like his fucking snot bubble. Sure, you don't like his fucking glasses. You don't fucking have to. Just leave him the fuck alone. If that kid goes to the fucking teacher, the teachers are going to do what most people do when it's a dork or a nerd who is coming up asking for help. You are not even a second-class citizen. With all the people in the United States who hate black people and hate immigrants, you are still hated more than black people and immigrants. If you're called mentally ill, or if you are homeless, you are not a human being to this society. You're bait. And when they run you over in court, in their kangaroo courts, they're going to add you to a statistic that is wrong. All homeless people are bad drug addicts, right? Well, when you railroad all homeless people through the courts as if they were guilty no matter what, and public pretenders aren't even going to pretend to defend them, you end up with 80% of the population, the incarcerated population, being homeless. Now, why is this? Because right after the Civil War, which was supposed to be about slavery, we passed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. This is the one that made it legal for you to be forced into slavery if you are convicted of a crime. So they made being homeless a crime. They made every aspect of being homeless a crime, so that anything that they bust you doing, they can lock you up for and use you as a fucking slave. You're homeless in Boulder, Colorado, and it's snowing. You're using a blanket, so you're breaking the law. You're camping in city limits. Oh, and you're on public property after 10 o'clock at night or 10:30. So you're trespassing. This is a crime of dishonesty and is going to prevent you for at least 7 years from getting a decent job in retail. And retail isn't necessary. Actually, retail isn't a decent job. But compared to fast food, it really is. It's the Jeannie Bell Black type. There are awful people out there that have zero compassion for anyone. That's right. And there's also a lot of people who have compassion and have this idea in their head, but the reality of it is that they're alcoholics. They only have compassion until you tell them they did something wrong. No drunk wants to hear that they did something wrong. No meth junkie wants to hear that they did something wrong. And if you're telling them they're doing something wrong while they're fucked up on alcohol or meth, it is going to be a dangerous situation for you. Plain and simple. Jeannie Bell Black type shameful. It is. Anyway, I gotta go let this guy know that in 7 minutes we are not going up there to help that guy, and that guy wants help tomorrow. See, that's the problem with them not communicating with each other, is that if they were communicating with each other, they would know each other's schedules and wouldn't have to use me as a go-between, and then later tell me, well, I hired him, you didn't do it, so well, you're having me go back and forth as a go-between. If you were calling him yourself and things didn't work out, I wouldn't feel bad because I'm not involved at that point. That's between you and him. But when I'm the go-between and it doesn't turn out the way that it's supposed to, I'm the go-between. You call him and you work this out. Also, thank you for letting me know before 7 o'clock. I am glad he did that. Pierre would have ignored me for 3 fucking days and then treated me like I'm a piece of shit because he didn't keep his fucking word. Merry goddamn Christmas.